So we're recording for public meeting rules and laws. If you are so excited, you think you missed something during the conversation tonight, you'll be able to go onto the county's webpage and go to the Extension Advisory Committee tab, and the video should be posted in the next couple of days. So anyway, I got appointed to be the budget officer. And with that, was presented some information, and I know you guys, were starting to meet fairly regularly. You probably thought you were gonna have a meeting in February. You didn't. That was Rebecca left, the office the 2nd of February. And the office just sort of was trying to figure out where everything was the month of February. Some of the things that we've been doing is, we're rewriting the position descriptions for both Carmen and Gina. That has actually been completed. Those position descriptions have gone through the county salary and benefit committees. They have been ranked, and their new positions, we're targeting April 1 to officially, they'll have new titles. Carmen's gonna become the office lead, and Gina is gonna become the office coordinator. All of them will have job responsibilities across all program areas. So they'll both be doing some 4-H stuff, they'll both be doing some ag stuff. They're there to support all the programs that are being delivered in Crook County. So you won't have to figure out who to talk to. You should be able to talk to either one of them to get things done. So hopefully that will work. And as we go through some of this budget information tonight, those new salary projections are already built into what you're gonna see. So, and when you look at the current year's budget numbers, those also have already been modified to reflect sort of where our spending is at the moment for this fiscal year. Some of the other numbers in that column have not been changed, but the salary ones have been. So when I was appointed to the budget committee, one of the things the county shared with me is this document that looks at the extension budget and then the next 4 years of sort of where we're at, where we might be going. And lots of assumptions are made in this document. Not necessarily were the assumptions correct, but they are a projection of sort of kind of what was happening based on both fiscal year 24, 25, what was projected to happen in this year 26, and then all the way to 2030. So there is a couple of years of hard numbers in this, and then the rest is sort of what ifs. But what more importantly, it shows that if we continued on the path we were headed on, we're deficit spending. Meaning our revenues, our expenses exceed revenue. And so one of the charges given to me was at least flatten the curve. And hopefully then as we project beyond 27, fiscal year 27, the curve starts to go back to a positive direction. Or flat. I'm okay with flat. Flat means that revenues are equaling expenses, and while revenues are projected to continue to increase, Crook County has a couple of things going for it at the moment. Lots of construction. So we, the last about 4 years, have a history of about a 5% annual increase in our taxable base. Under the old measure 5, we're allowed a 3% increase every year, so the extra 2% sort of helps out a whole bunch. And then in 28 is when some of the buildings up on top of the hill start coming on to the county tax rolls. And some of those numbers I've seen the first year, there's just slightly more than $1 billion of taxable assets that come into play that fiscal year. So that's 2 years out, but that's still things that you should all be aware of and take advantage of or plan for or whatever. But this year, all we're trying to do is flatten the curve. So with that, are there any questions?
Yeah, Tim, question on this.
Yeah.
If this is the one you're looking at, I see your projections in here for your property taxes. 28, 29, and 30 still just showing 4%.
Yeah, and I don't know why they did that, because I've seen some of the county ones that I think it's the 28 year, or that's like a 20% for that year.
Anywhere from 10 to 20 on.
Yeah. So the quirkiness of why there's a big unknown about what's coming on board in that year is a couple of things. One, the county assessor, which does like all our private properties and all of our farm properties and whatnot, doesn't do those buildings up on the hill. The State Department of Revenue is in charge of assessments of those large commercial entities. And so the state is still trying to figure out what those numbers might be. They've started to provide some projections, but there's the buildings, and then there's the contents. And the building is maybe an easier one for them to figure out. It's the contents that are giving them some pause, because those are the servers and the actual stuff, and those are turned over with some frequency. And so we don't know what the hard number is going to be yet, but it looks like it's just slightly over $1 billion, which for the county's assessed value, this year's assessed value is 3.4 billion countywide, all the properties, that's the assessed value. So you add another 30% maybe to that deal. That's why we get to that 20% for stuff coming on board in that year. So that could add, if you take 20% of taxes collected this year, in that year, that could add $100,000. But it is not there this time. So that's still our dilemma, is dealing with this year. We can dream about a couple of years to come. It's this year that creates the problem. So I think if there's any other questions.
Why does health insurance go down?
Okay, let's go to the big sheet. This is for all of us that are seeing impaired. I tried to make the numbers as big as possible.
Thank you for that, Tim. I wish that most people did for the seeing
And
it.
I just, you have a photocopier that prints 11 by 17, take advantage of it. That's
I think
fine.
this is wonderful.
Yeah. So, where are you looking at? We can bounce down to health. So healthcare, health insurance, to answer that question, Nancy's, it looks like to me it's going up, not down.
Hey, Tim,
Yeah.
I think Nancy is referring to this one where it says healthcare project forecast.
Health insurance.
And 10, 17 and half that one.
In the second column. For the second row. Paragraph.
Goes 22, 22, 17, 5, 15, 12, 5, and 10.
Right, the percentage increase goes down.
They have.
Yeah, right here.
Oh,
It is going up. It's
Oh.
going down, it's small.
I don't know, maybe Obamacare finally kicks in.
Or out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't, yeah, I don't know. That is an interesting.
And I agree with you. We are looking at different ways because our health insurance has went up so much. But that is very optimistic look on thing too. So I agree with Tim.
Yeah, the point is it's still going up.
Yeah.
But maybe not as drastically, and it's hard to project really good numbers when you get 3 years and beyond. It's, you know, we've been running the county, my recollection, 12 to 18% in year over year health increases. The county has done a great job in trying to keep that to a hold, and the employees, they work at it by not running to the doctor. You know, that it's a usage issue, and I remember in the 90s, 2000s, the county had a user rate almost like it was above 90%. And health insurance companies sort of hope you're more in the 60 to 70% rate. That's kind of where they can hold the fee, they can make money and provide service. But if your users are using at a 90+% rate, then rates have to keep going up because there's no reserve being there. And so it's the county employees doing, you know, you go to the doctor when you need to go to the doctor but whatnot. But I think those user rates have come down a little bit, so that's helped. And maybe they're projecting that to go down as well. Okay.
Did the number of employees change?
For the county, or no, so for the extension office?
Yeah.
So this year, the FTE was budgeted at 2.7. There was a thought, my understanding that, some additional help would be brought on. By October, that decision had been decided that wasn't gonna happen. So it's held at 2. This budget for 27 stays at 2 FTE plus some part-time FTE. So I think total when you get into the benefit side, it's at like 2.4 FTE. But the office staff, full-time FTE is just two individuals. So maybe we'll just go, if it's all right, from the top down. Hey, Nicole, were you able to pull up the email with this stuff?
What's in that chat box?
Oh, there's a
Thank you.
chat.
Yeah, I can't unmute myself. I have the budget documents. I didn't have the program updates. I don't know if you put those in, sent those to the advisory board.
No.
Okay.
So.
Well, I have the budget documents.
Oh, great. That's what we're gonna cover this evening. All right, so in property taxes, so basically that's a math formula. This year's taxable assessed value, that's what TAV stands for, is that $3.6 billion. We assume a collection rate of 94%. Not everybody pays all of their property taxes in the year they're assessed. We can go through the records, and there's probably taxes coming in from 8, 9, 10 years ago. They're little dribbles, but used to be a whole bunch. And then with the recession, 2008, 2011, banks started collecting property taxes as part of your mortgage. And so a lot of banks pay the mortgage instead of the individuals paying their own mortgage or their own taxes separate from the mortgage. So that, because we used to figure 88%, now it's 94. The less than 8.5 $8500. So a couple of years ago, Pacific Power appealed the assessment of their property assets in the county. They've done it again, so that this is the second appeal for them. The first one they won. And the first one, because they won, all the taxing entities within the county had to give back a proportion of that year's taxes that were paid. I can't tell you what the service district paid that first time. The second time, the estimate is $8,500. That's our portion of, if Pacific Power wins this appeal, that's our portion of giving back to them. The county's portion is way bigger than that. The school district's way bigger than that. The fire department's way bigger than that. They have all bigger budgets than we do, but it's based on a percentage of your total, and so 85 is gonna be withheld. The interesting deal is 85, not knowing when this will get settled. For 2026, they are also estimating $8,500. Now, they won't be 85 and 26 and 85 and 27. It's just one time, but we don't know when the one time is. So it keeps getting thrown in until it actually happens. So that's the money that comes in from the taxes themselves. Then we have interest. We have collection of old taxes. Those are guesses based on sort of historical performance. We do a little bit of photocopy revenue. That's usually the partners in the building. They get billed for their copies they use. And so that dollar is, and that dollar then goes back out for the maintenance cost of the machine as well. So workshop fees, these are things like if Gordon Scott have a workshop and they charge a registration fee, or if they have a sponsor that's sponsoring the meeting expenses, we have to have a way to take that money. So we have our workshops on the revenue side, and we have workshops later on the expense side. The lease, rent properties, all of the partners in the building pay rent for the space they occupy. And that covers, that's about $8,000 of the 12. And then the remaining balance is rent of the 4-H building. 4-H provides like $2,000 a year, the Leaders Association. And then there's community that rents the building and those kind of things. That's what makes up the 12,000. Interest earned, just what it is. The county invests the money that they're holding for us. It's not just sitting in a checking account, it's sitting in interest-bearing accounts. And those accounts are somewhere in the 3.5–4%. Back in the recession period, they were like 0.5%. We were hardly earning any interest back then, but that interest is the number that generally is used is going to be about 350,000 is always in some sort of investment for us, even though 400 and some thousand is our operating budget. It's just a lot of it's cash accessible, but it's still invested in something. And the county is in charge of all of that, the county treasurer.
So is it the county treasurer that decides how to invest that interest income?
It's actually regulated a lot by the government, so that it's very structured.
Oh, yeah.
If you were to go like just this yesterday, we did a treasurer report. If you go onto the minutes and you can see, but she's kind of limited our finance in how they can do it.
She can't play the stock market.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we can't.
It's regulated.
It's very.
Can't buy Bitcoin.
It's very regulated, so.
Yeah.
yes, but no.
Okay.
Yeah, they're very secure investments.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. Sale of publications includes, so every year when we do 4-H enrollments, which just ended February, every child who enrolls in 4-H is assessed a $40 fee. And this year there were 449 kids that enrolled. So that's almost $18,000 that we took in. And then the remainder is miscellaneous publications, things we might sell. Generally, we don't sell publications to the public. We give them for free. The old rule of thumb was they paid their property taxes, they already bought the publication. So that's why generally most of our publications are free. I don't know, that would get the exceptions to the rule that I could remember. We used to have like a pesticide handbook that was like $15-20. And I think we charged for that. When we pay for the red book, a lot of our livestock producers use the red book. It's a pocketbook that helps them record livestock things during the year. And we charge for what we pay for. So that's in and out. But generally our publications are free. The sale of lease of county land, so any properties the county takes in foreclosure and sells on the steps of the courthouse. We get a portion of those sales based on the sale and taxes that were incurred that hadn't been paid. That's usually why a foreclosure occurs, is the county's acquired that property. And then, yeah, so that's kind of the major categories on the revenue side. On the expense side, so the number we're playing with now on salaries for our two folks, all in is 131,000. If you looked at the salaries that they're gonna start with in April 1, it's 121,000, but because they're new positions, those new positions in 6 months go up a step with county policy. And then on their year anniversary, there's another step. So in this first year, they'll actually have 2-step increases. That's how we get to the 131 total for the year. That'll be what we will have spent June 30th of next year. Extra help is a line item that covers the rare occasion that Carmen and Gina both have to be out of the office. We want to keep the office open, and so we find somebody who can come in for the day. I think we budgeted $20 an hour for that position. Some of you know Lynn Brees. No, Lynn Brees. Lynn used to be our go-to. She was a retired extension agent. She could answer just about any question. And so she made a real good temporary person. And she was always willing to come in. She's not doing that anymore. So they'll have to find somebody, but that's what's to cover that. Any additional help that they think they need for during 4-H or Fair Week can come out of that line item. And then the Better Bones and Balance Program coordinator comes out of that line item as well. Are you familiar with that program? It's geared towards senior citizens, primarily twice a week at I think they're meeting at the library. Or are they meeting at the 4-H building?
No, last I heard they were meeting at the gym.
Oh, the gym, okay.
There's another one going on at the library, a different one.
Okay. So it goes on during the school year. It doesn't happen during the summer months. And the person that's doing that for extension, she's been doing it for years. She used to be in the position that I think Shauna was in, and then when OffNet or SNAP-Ed stopped funding at that cycle, we wanted to keep the Better Bones program going, and we found those dollars out of the service district. So that covers, sort of the personnel costs, other things in there. Health insurance, we're gonna operate on the assumption that it's self and family, so the rates the county has is self only, self plus one, and self and family. And the employee can pick which one of those plans fits their family, individual preference, that kind of stuff. So the assumption is both will be self plus family. The part-time help isn't eligible for those benefits. So with the new salaries, the new position descriptions, we're anticipating a savings of about $30,000 over this year, in the personnel costs. So then we get into materials and services, which is the nuts and bolts of the operation. These are probably self-explanatory, but the first two columns are the actual spent in those years, fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25. The next three columns, the first column of 26 is what was approved last May. The second column is actuals through December. So 6 months of spending. And then the third column of year-end estimate. Those numbers, we can talk about them, but they haven't been manipulated yet. And I'll share with what happens with those numbers in a little bit. So I'm going to talk about what's in the purple column. The column to the right of that is just a number rounded up to the nearest thousand. So, so really in the first grouping of materials and services, supplies, postage, minor equipment, these are equipment purchases, like computers. I just budgeted a potential replacement of two, around $2,000 a piece. Nobody has said we need to replace one, so we're not intentionally gonna replace, but we'll budget to replace. And at the end of the fiscal year, if we didn't spend it, that's wonderful. But if we don't budget, then it's gonna be hard to spend it. Dues and subscriptions, that's magazine subscriptions, newspapers, things that kind of are important to the different programs and to the office to always make sure you kind of know what's going on in the community and around Central Oregon. The copy machine bill, that's based on the number of copies that go through it. It's a maintenance agreement with the Pacific copiers. Office supplies, that's paper, pencils, paper clips, rubber bands. And then under publishing expense, that could be the purchase of publications. It could also be, that line has been used in the past to actually publish publications. The last one I was involved with was the Rural Living in Crook County handbook. That you sometimes, if you're in the chamber office, you can see it at the chamber. There's some in the front end of the extension office. Sometimes you'll see them in dentist offices and whatnot through town. the distribution is sort of kind of haphazard, but the chamber for sure always has them. And then we have them, so, but like, Amy Jo, at the last staff meeting, they let me sit in on, she talked about a publication she might have in 27. And she could come and say, hey, can you kick in $1,000, $2,000 to help pay for it? And that's why that has that potential to be something in there. Repairs and maintenance, these are small items, not large items. I put in parentheses, like an item less than $3,000. If it's larger than that, it comes out of the capital building fund. But small items shouldn't come out of the big fund. Vehicles in the motor pool, that's fuel. Even though prices have gone up, I still lowered the price to reflect more reality of what, is being spent on fuel for those 3 vehicles. Auditing, every year, that has gone up a little bit. The service district is required to have its budget audited every year. We participate with the county's auditor at the same time the county's getting their stuff audited, and they just send us a bill. Contracted services, this is the fee that the county charges the service district for services they provide. The service district pays 4 of the 5 categories the county has. You are paying for admin, for HR, for finance, and legal. The one you don't pay for through the county is IT support. Other county departments pay all 5. Some of them are based on a percent, like the only one that's not is HR. HR is based on an FTE. So $1,500, something like that, an FTE. And since we have 2, there's $3,000 for our contribution to HR.
Does that get paid annually?
Yes.
So there's just no actuals from 24 and 25?
Okay, good catch. For 27 next year, I asked for a new line to be put in. It was under contracted services intergovernmental.
Okay.
And so what intergovernmental is the OSU stuff and was the county stuff up till this year.
Okay.
But it was confusing to some, thinking that, well, gosh, you budgeted $200,000 for intergovernmental transfers. Is that what you really meant? And well, yeah, but part of it's to OSU and part of it to the county. So this year it's separate.
Okay.
And at that dollar amount, it should be separate. You should see the full amount. It shouldn't be hid anywhere.
Mhm.
So next, 2 contracted services. Those big jumps in there were the addition of the county services. It's gone, another history. When I was doing the budget in the teens, we were transferring about 20,000 a year. Then it went to 27, then it went to 40 and 49, and now it's projected to be 53. So,
Are the 4-H memberships going down next year?
no, so under contracted services intergovernment, this is all OSU transfers. So what we're budgeting is basically what we took in last month. So we had 449 kids sign up. We collected 40 and we send 30. So the county 4-H program keeps 10 to operate, buy 4-H manuals, all that kind of stuff. The food and nutrition program, you guys dealt with this last fall. So in June, when the budget was passed, it was one number. And then with the big beautiful bill in July, Congress ended SNAP Ed as of September 30th. So you guys got together with the county and with OSU to talk about what would happen with food and nutrition program in the county for the rest of this fiscal year. And the county and the service district said if needed, we will cover that through June 30th. Since then, that's not what had to happen. In December, the university was able to get approval to spend unspent SNAP Ed dollars through September 30th of this year. So Shauna's position is funded with those unspent dollars. Hasn't cost us anything yet that I can tell from being billed. And moving forward, working with Nicole and Nicole with campus, at the moment, for next fiscal year, July through June, campus is willing to fund a 0.4 FTE food and nutrition program to the tune of, well, it's about $40-some thousand. And so what I budgeted in is an additional 0.4 FTE at 39,000. And if that were to get funded, so that position would be 0.8 total. 0.4 of it is a regional job. Right now, Sean is a regional position. She works with two other individuals from Hood River, Wasco County, through Jefferson, Deschutes, Crook. Is Sherman in there? I forget. I think it's 10 counties. Anyway, that's the three of them are covering programming, doing some stuff. That would continue with the 0.4. Then we would add 0.4, and that would be 100% programming in Crook County. Doing the food and nutrition program.
I think Nicole has her hand raised, you just can't see it, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Nicole. Oh, I have to unmute her all the time.
Yeah,
I should figure out how to keep that. Maybe I'll. Go ahead, Nicole. I think you're free.
I think you can trust me with the mute button, Tim.
Well, I don't know.
I just wanted to let you know.
MC, you know.
I'm here at a conference with the Family and Community Health Program Leader and was talking about this meeting tonight. And she wanted to convey she can't 100% commit yet, but there's been some staff changes in the program that might enable the Family and Community Health Program to pick up more than the 0.4 for Shauna. Unfortunately, the timing of her ability to calculate all that doesn't align with the meeting tonight, but it is, we value her role and her skills highly. And this is something that we're diligently working towards, just an FYI.
Well, and what's really important is what you see tonight is not what you're going to see in May. I anticipate some of these numbers to change, and it's the May meeting where we really sort of have to tie down. What I wanted to do tonight is just kind of show you where the direction we're headed, given that the single goal was stop deficit spending. So we're almost there. When we get to the bottom, you're going to see I'm not there yet. But that is the goal here, is to stop deficit spending. So any additional funding sources, whatnot, they may show up between now and May. We also are funding 21,000 for master gardener, support and salary. And we're funding 25,000 to the open campus Juntos program in the county. And then campus provides the IT support for the building. That's the networking, that's all the software, that's if a machine hiccups, they provide the faculty member, staff member with assistance trying to solve those IT problems. So our service comes from the university, the rest of the counties departments get it from the county's IT department. But because OSU has the cable into our building, it's just worked better to have OSU be in charge of support services.
So all the other positions, extension positions we have OSU pays fully?
So OSU is paying 100% of all the OSU people in this room tonight. The county pays for Carmen and Gina and any office folks, but the faculty is all covered by OSU. And that's the partnership. The three-way stool that we used to talk about was federal, state, and local funding for extension. The local funding was support services. The state's obligation was faculty, salaries, and the feds usually used to provide some dollars for programs. The federal piece of the pie has declined over the years, and they've really focused on certain things. Like when I retired, one of the big topics was water. They provided some program funding for water quality. I don't know what extension gets in the way of federal funds these days, but it's not as big. It does really, extension relies on mostly state and local funding now to operate statewide. But we still talk about the three-way stool for what Bill.
And there's other faculty like myself and others that have a tri-county appointment. By nature, we're just physically based in a different county, but we serve the region.
Yeah, so
yeah.
we have staff in Deschutes County that covers Crook County. We have researchers in Jefferson that, based on their research topics, cover some extension activities in the three counties. And then like Gordon and Scott have regional responsibilities. Risa has some statewide responsibilities, if I remember right. So it's a mishmash of things. When Mylan was here, yeah, we used to tease him. He had all of Eastern Oregon. But that regional model or regional presentation of an individual's expertise has been a model since the mid-90s. Pretty much. Very few people only serve the county that they reside in.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, janitorial, you can't get away from janitorial services. Utilities, lights, gas, natural gas, water, telephone. Cell phones, the county policy on cell phones is for the faculty, the OSU people, the county covers $25 a month of their cell phone. The county's actually, for other departments, I was told, moving away from a cell phone benefit and providing those people with a cell phone that's owned by the county. That's gone, ebb and flowed over the decades. Yeah. In the 90s, we all had county phones. And then we started getting freedom of information requests for every phone call you ever made. And so the thought was, well, if you have a personal phone, then you can't get a freedom of information request. And so forever then everybody had personal phones, and the county said, well, we recognize you need a phone to operate on, so we'll help cover the cost. Well, that was back in the days when a monthly plan was like $70 a deal. So a $25 benefit actually helped cover a portion of the deal. Well, I don't know what your cell phones are, but My plan is $30 a month. And so a $25 contribution dang near pays my cell phone bill. And then really I'm benefiting as a private individual because, and I think that's also a sort of a part of, is this a benefit to do your job, or is it something you're making money on? But we're continuing the $25 deal. And it's available just to those folks in the office. So Gordon, Scott, Risa. Okay. Insurance. Insurance, we basically have four parts of our insurance policy. We have the buildings, you guys, the county, the service district now owns the buildings. The 4-H Clover building and the extension office. And then we pay $1 a year for the land rent. So we have building insurance on the buildings, we have insurance on the cars. We have a $2 million liability policy, and then we have a general insurance policy. And that's all through local insurance provider is our insurance agent. We use the Special Districts of Oregon as they're the actual insurance provider. They're an organization that works with all special districts across the state, and really the only outfit that provides that kind of insurance. Fair equipment rental, this is equipment rental, and we wanted to sort of, what does that mean? Well, in the good old days at fair time, the fairgrounds used to provide the 4-H staff with golf carts to help get around this big fairgrounds during the week. And then when budgets got tight, they stopped that as a benefit. Our folks still needed to get around the fairgrounds, and so we started renting the golf cart. So that's kind of an example of what falls under equipment rental. In the days when we did a lot of tractor safety training, sometimes we would have to pay the equipment company a small fee, so they would transport the tractors, balers to where we were doing the trainings and then take them back. So those are the kind of things in the past or potentially in the future that could fall under that kind of a line item. And then the lease rent, we pay now rent in this building for Shauna's office. And so that's that dollar amount. So the other two things that we spend money on, or that we put money into, is the two small pages. One is the vehicle fund, and one is the building maintenance fund. In the old days, these were what we called reserve funds. I likened them to a savings account. I put money into them every year, little bits. And over time, the amounts grew. So that when we needed to replace a vehicle, we had money already set aside for that replacement. We didn't have to find it within that year's budget. And if something ever happened to the building, we lost a heat unit, we recarpeted, we painted, parking lot needs chipped and sealed, cracked sealed, 4-H building needs new lights, heating unit. Those are the kind of things that fall under that building maintenance. And again, we try to put a little bit of money into those two areas every year. We budget to spend 100% of them. We intend to spend nothing. Because again, we're just trying to build them over time. We don't know what might happen. Some years we do know, like last year, Rebecca had made a couple of major plans ahead of time, new lights in the 4-H building. We were looking at some remodeling in the extension office. And so she actually had collected some bids and got some fairly hard estimates of what that work would have cost. All we didn't do the remodel in the extension office, we're not gonna. And the lights in the 4-H building did get replaced and we rewired them. So the light switches make sense. And which banks of lights they turn on and off. So hopefully that makes that building a little more comfortable. In how programs go, and we've changed the heater, maybe not last year, but maybe a year or 2 years ago, we changed the heater. Cause it was super noisy and now it's not as noisy. Anyway, those are the kind of things that come out of that. A couple of 3 years ago, the county made a decision to dissolve all those reserve accounts. So the money we had set aside got moved back into what I call the general fund. But within the general fund, we still keep those two things separate. And we are I'm proposing to make contributions into both of those. Because the dollar amounts that are currently in them are low enough that we couldn't do a lot if we had to do something. The vehicle fund has about 30,000 in it right now. I'm gonna propose to put 5,000 into that reserve. I'm gonna still call it a reserve. And I'm gonna put 25,000 into the building fund because right at the moment, there's only about 1,000 in that fund. So that'll get us to about, there's about 2,000. It gives about $27,000 for next year. I partitioned them out under repairs and improvements. That's just to allocate them. I have not a clue that that's the right allocation. The best part is it doesn't matter. Because if we had to do one or the other, and
Nicole's question.
if we had to do one or the other and it busted the budget, it's the important thing now is that we don't overspend in the category. We can overspend in the line item. How do I get her unmuted? I'm working on it, Nicole. Sorry. I hate these things. Okay. We got you.
I threw it in the chat too, but I was curious about the rent to COCC. Did that agreement, was that reduced? Because it was 3,600 a year. Rent doesn't usually go down, but just checking.
Duly noted. Sure, nice. See, I was gonna say we're getting closer to zero and now we're getting further away from zero. Okay. So given all of that, you see down there in revenues over or under expenditures, round number $38,000. When we started this, it's well, anywhere from $168,000 to $77,000 in the red. If we would have kind of spent in 27 what we were projected to spend in 26. Now, 26, we're not gonna spend all of that because now back to that year-end estimate column. Carmen and Gina and I are gonna spend the next 3 or 4 weeks going through this year's bills line by line and trying to figure out what the end of June is really gonna look like. A lot of these line items are not going to be spent at the budgeted amount that were spent. Some of them will be overspent and some of them will be way underspent. And so we just go through line by line and we identify what's positive and what's negative, and at the bottom we'll do a little math and we'll generate a new number for this year. That's okay. What all that does is change the ending fund balance for this year or the beginning fund balance for next year. It doesn't change next year, the fact that under what I just went through, I'm still overspending $38,000 of what I took in. So at some point, it's like, okay, make that number 0 or decide to deficit spend by $38,000 one more time. And that's not for tonight. If we can discuss it, I'd love to have discussion about the thought processes that we might go through. And I'll try to rework stuff for when we get together in May, to actually review and approve a budget. But the numbers I just gave you, are are right now resulting in a deficit spend of $38,000.
Nicole's got another question, but I'm gonna press the
Oh,
button.
man,
So-
maybe you should just sit there and,
I'm gonna.
because I am not paying attention.
So do I understand correctly, Tim, that if we have any savings in 26, it won't help with that deficit in 27?
Well, what it does is makes the beginning fund balance bigger. And it may change how the projected ending fund balance might look. But that set aside, if I look at next year's revenues and next year's expenses, I'm 38,000 in the hole. And so it would be, it's my philosophy that I shouldn't be in the hole. I should at least be at 0. And for decades, we were always on the plus side. So
Tim,
seeing it on the negative side, yeah, yes.
first of all, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't like planning for a budget that builds into deficit, but I'm curious. I'm looking on the operating tab of the spreadsheet that you sent, and the income doesn't reflect the $14,000 that we receive from 4-H. So there's an extra $14,000.
I don't know what 14,000 from 4-H.
The that you have in the intergovernmental transfer, the 13,470. It's not in the revenue portion of the operating tab. It's only in the transfer part of the operating tab.
If you go to the front page, in the revenue side, if you go to sale of publications and go over to the notes, there's almost $18,000 in 4-H enrollments coming into the budget. And
So that's
only,
on the summary page, right? Is that what you're talking about? The one with the green column?
nope, in the blue column under, you have a green tab and then you have 3 tabs to the right.
Correct.
It's the first tab to the right.
Uh-huh. Yep, that's the one I'm looking at.
Yep, and go up to the revenue grouping.
Oh, I see it. Well,
Sorry. I wish I had lost $14,000, but it's there. It's actually 18,000 and we only have to send 13,000 to campus.
okay.
So I guess we should go recruit more kids because that's a moneymaker.
So Tim, I probably should know this as well as anybody, but the 2026 budget, 168,000 over budget. It's way more than it ever had been before. Was that all brought on it? I mean, the SNAP Ed deal couldn't have made that much difference.
No, Jerry, we had a big talk about that last year when that budget was presented. If anybody from the advisory board recalls that, we had some concerns about the way that budget was written. Rebecca was really new to budgeting, and I think she was confident that we weren't going to spend it all, but I don't think she really knew how to.
I think she took more out for and set it aside into the building fund than she should have taken out. So the mechanism, the way the flow of money works, for the budget is ending fund balance becomes beginning fund balance. And at the moment it becomes beginning fund balance. Cause remember, all of the money's in general now, even the building vehicle. Is the first withdrawal, and it's a paper withdrawal, it's not an actual expense, is a paper withdrawal to the two funds, vehicle and reserve. So if I look through this, I see $100,000 sort of being floated as the idea for the
Right.
bill.
She also added a third 0.7 office support position that we ended up not hiring.
Right, but that all got approved, and that's all why, I mean, it all got approved as a deficit budget. And
Yeah.
we've taken all of that out, we've significantly reduced what is being illustrated in building and vehicle funds. We've made big cuts in our personnel costs by redoing the position descriptions and getting new salary allocations for those. Both individuals are gonna end up with a pay raise. They did not take a pay cut. But because of the way the oppositions we had before, you guys are gonna it's a net benefit to what we did. So they get a benefit and the service district gets a benefit by redoing those position descriptions. But we're saving 40,000 in personnel costs, over last year's projections. What would have been, even if not hiring that additional 0.7 extra FTE, we're still saving money this next year over what would have been spent under the current, the spending under personnel for this year.
And then the next line item over, the actual for 26, we're ahead $230,000.
That's because she's only projecting, she only's got 6 months worth of expenses. And not all expenses are evenly partitioned every month.
Okay.
So we have some that are only coming,
Okay.
and another big reason that number is so low is we haven't sent any money hardly to campus yet. So we are just now diving into what we call the text accounts on campus. So for 8 months, people have been paid out of the text account and we haven't reimbursed a dime. So when we get figured out how much we owe, that 230 to the positive is gonna disappear pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I like the way you've done this. I like the way you did it 4 years ago. A lot better than the way it's been done the last 2 or 3 years. To me. So I thank you for that.
well, sure. This is new for me in that we're this year using the county's budgeting system to plug in our numbers. Gordon and I had a conversation this morning. Forever and ever, I used the
31.
31 forms, the LB10s. These are numbers that don't mean anything to anybody but someone who's ever done budget before, but they're forms you download from the Oregon Department of Revenue. A lot of taxing districts use them. We used them forever. In those illustrations, the previous years, the actuals always are on the left-hand side of the descriptors. And the adopted budget is right next to the descriptors. And then on the right-hand side of the descriptors is what we're planning to do this year. And this format for me is a little, I'm getting used to it, but it's because I gotta get through a lot of columns and becomes noise to me.
Maybe it's because it's big print and we can read it.
Yeah, can you imagine me if I've been really mean if I'd have put that spreadsheet onto I'd had to bring magnifying glasses.
So, with the intention of getting us to at least 0, what would you recommend that we cut?
Well,
Where are we gonna make up that 38,000?
yep. Right now, in my mind, it's ending funding for the Master Gardener program and ending funding for the Open Campus program. both of those, well, how we would propose to deal with the master gardener services in the county. Being the plant clinics and that kind of stuff is that, I would recommend that, Carmen and Gina go to the master gardener training and become master gardener, folks. So that when citizens bring in their dead and dying bush, their insects, we can still provide that service. But I, under this deal for this next year, and then with the Juntos, open campus deal, it's just, those are the sort of two big numbers that jump out and the county said we want to, that if you have to cut somewhere, we want to maintain the food and nutrition program. We lost the food and nutrition program in Cook County in 1996. And we didn't get it back until SNAP Ed came along in the early teens. And it just didn't work very well. We have it back now. And again, the direction I got from the county is, of the three, that's their priority. So trying to honor that. It's still a reduction in FTE. But it sort of helps, hopefully maintains at least that program. And then you revisit in 28 to decide if and what gets brought back or new added or.
So, I mean, obviously, I understand the staff wanting to stay, wanting to keep that in the county. That's a really important service we provide. What metrics do we have for the effect of the Juntos program here in Crook County? Do we have?
So I will send you those reports. So in the last couple of days, and maybe even Amy Jo brought with her the master gardener impacts. But I will send all of you those reports that sort of cover the last 3 years of impacts of each of those programs in the county. They're impressive numbers. I'm not saying it's not an important program. Amy Jo, they did a program over in the 4-H building a month ago, within the last month.
2 classes.
70 some people came and, so I'm not saying the demand's not there. I'm saying I don't know where to find the money to support them. So, if we can find the money, right now it's in the budget, but in the budget it's also a $38,000 deficit. So how do I get it to zero? That's one way to get it to, I don't know any other way to get it to zero.
Does it have to be black or white? Like maybe if we're gonna cut, we split it between program delivery and program support. You have a point, you have some temporary help in the personnel area. I think people are going to get some time, it sounds like, to look over the numbers, to look over the programs. There might be a way to spread it out more evenly.
Sure. Yeah, no, like I said, nothing you see tonight is probably what you're gonna see in May. Cause we're gonna do a couple of more things that, collect a little more data but on the expense side, most of those numbers are probably fairly close. So, yeah, we can move 1,000 here, 1,000 there. Does that get me 38,000? I don't know. The example of the front office help, it's the county policy, we don't close the office. If both of them have to be out of the office in order to serve the community comes to the front door, they expect it to open on a Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And unless it's a holiday, if there's a, sign on the door, sorry, we're not here today, sometimes that doesn't go over very well. So, we have an obligation to have somebody, they might not be skilled, they may not be knowledgeable of all the program areas, but they can greet them at the counter. They can say, gosh, Scott's out of the office today. He'll get back. Let me get your name and number and he'll get back to you tomorrow. Somehow they're gonna feel like at least they got something when they came into the building, so. So they gotta have something there. Yeah, maybe, $8,000 is not what it's gonna take, but I don't know, there's 6 days of county fair that if we, last year they had a little extra help, seemed to help with fair. So not a big ticket item, but still it's ours.
And this whole deal here is just based on the revenue we know that's coming in. There was
Correct.
no carryover from last year, so that could be either good or bad.
Yeah, one, I hope the carryover is flat.
Mhm.
That's the other, so I wanna make spending equal revenue at least. And I wanna keep ending fund balance flat. Now, if after we go through the exercise of, this year, what are we spending, not spending, and ending fund balance goes up a little bit, maybe that softens the blow. Again, that's a philosophy thing. Do you want to glide into 27 or 28, 29, or how do we get there? So
I wanna bring up something too. The county as a whole, we have asked every department to reduce by 5%. We are evaluating core services and we are sticking with our core services. Because we are entering a little bit of a fiscal uncertainty thing and it is our obligation. We are not gonna be a headline of, like where you take where I was born and raised, they're 15 million and they're projecting 30 million deficit. We're not gonna beat that. That's not Crook County. So what we're asking here, or what Tim is asking, is not anything that hasn't been asked by every department in this county.
Yeah.
Because we are really watching our dollars. And yes, maybe gold is gonna run down that hill on 2028, but I would rather be conservative
Absolutely.
if the gold stops somewhere or dribbles or whatever. And that has been our thing. And so we're like, again, so we need to use that philosophy and focus on our core services. And also look like Tim's asking a reduction.
yeah, every time I've pre-spent revenue, I've gotten myself into trouble. So I'm a horrible bettor on the come. I wouldn't wanna go to Reno and put money on the table, cause
We really need to look at these programs. How many are we serving? And I think Tim said it very well. Yes, we want someone at the door. That's why it's important for Crook County to have Crook County employees. Because they do a very good job. At least they greet me really nice. If they're not greeting you guys, tell me. But we want that. We want that they can come in. And if, like you said, somebody isn't here, they at least can be friendly and try to help what they can and get a number and move on. And that's, like I say, that's what we're asking on a whole county basis.
yeah, and this document has been shared with everybody. There are no secrets.
No.
And I'm gonna take ideas from anybody. So if you've got ideas, staff, faculty have been asked, hey, if you got ideas, we'll look at them all. And you'll see the ones that rise to the top in May when you come together for a budget meeting, but.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
The percent of the FTEs, is that negotiable at all?
It might be.
Okay.
Yeah, these are based on what we're currently FTEs are. So, like Nicole said, can you make some adjustments in a whole lot of places? So, yeah, the answer is probably, but there's people behind these numbers as well, so that also affects, you gotta be somewhat sensitive to that and, treat them the way they deserve to be treated, so making some of those manipulations may not be the right way to move forward, so. But yeah, that whole column is not cell protected if you know about Excel spreadsheets, so we can put numbers But they gotta be good numbers. I just don't wanna stick a number makes the number disappear and it's. Carmen next year at this time discovers that
Oops.
Tim just put a number in to balance the budget and it didn't really balance the
Tim,
budget.
you'll still be here for me to vote.
Well, and I guess I would just say, if you have any questions about the report, please ask me. Feel free to send me an email. Because it's kind of being pocketed just as Master Gardener, but realistically, even with that, it's a community horticulture program and it goes beyond just answering gardening questions. And so the current level of support is really to like increase our capacity as a whole in serving the region. So just, if you've got questions about it, it's kind of summed up in here, but just feel free to ask me if that helps. And if you have ideas on, ways we can do things differently or suggestions too, and preserve the budget, let me know.
And you might think about core services and what are the things, I mean, I don't know how strict, I'm just saying, like I said, is there a core service in some way, I think, I'm just throwing.
Yeah, and I think you'll find that in here, like food security and those types of things. By teaching people how to grow their own food and, so some of that has been addressed, but I know that, I think you have a report.
I do. I sent it to you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I will forward that to
Everybody needs any
everybody.
questions as well.
Everybody needs to see it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like I say,
I'm interested in learning more about the education and training piece too.
Okay.
That's kind of a bigger chunk.
Yep.
How would it look like to say, okay, 1 year of no training and education to help with the staffing?
so the faculty members as a part of their annual evaluations from campus, that's who their supervisors are. One of the things that is looked at for them is, are they engaged in professional development? And so they are strongly encouraged to attend professional development activities. Almost all of them belong to a professional society organization. They go to those meetings. There's benefit to those meetings back to the communities they serve. It's not a big chunk. It's a big dollar amount, but it provides travel for 4 faculty members. And Carmen and Gina, for any professional development they need, and they're actually gonna need to go to some this year because in their new duties, they're gonna need to learn the OSU payment system. Not only do they have to learn the county's billing treasury system, they also have to learn OSU's because they have to be able to get into their system, pay bills, transfer money around as well. So they'll be doing some of those kind of things. Like I said, they're gonna end up going to, if my recommendation is they would be going to things like Master Gardener training. Has a cost associated with it. I don't know if it still exists, but we also used to have someone in the office trained under the Master Food Preserver umbrella, so that we could do pressure canning, lid testing and all that kind of stuff. Now that Glenda has retired from Deschutes County, I don't even know how that program is looking. But if that program's still existing, again.
Everything is under one family and community health umbrella.
Okay, but we need to have people trained because that's a service
Yep.
again they provide. So
Yep.
I'll bring in dozens of pressure canners. And for a while we had to figure out how to get them to Redmond because we didn't have anybody that, was certified to run the pump. So it's just a thing. It's part of the service part of extension, extension service. That the community kind of comes to expect and enjoys and benefits from, and they're the taxpayers, so what the heck, so. So anyway, so that line item covers all of those kind of things. You figure, I guess you could say, well, okay, nobody goes on any national meeting this year. That could set them in a negative comparison to their peer groups who do get to go to those, because again, their performance evaluations have, part of that is, do you have a professional development plan in place and are you implementing it? And are you participating in those things? So if we say you can't go, then they don't get to put that in their reports, and then there's
Yeah,
a negative to that.
this actually looks pretty tight for what they usually spend per year, but we do have professional development scholarship opportunities, and folks have grants that they can use to supplement that. So I think cutting that would make it really hard for folks, cutting it any further.
All right, I have a question, Nicole. So like, right now, we have on the southern border, we have hoof and mouth coming, and then I just read Walla County has a hemorrhagic disease that they've shown up in calves. So now you've got Scott here, and he needs to know about this, because it comes to Crook County. Isn't part of that training of getting him to go there and tell, and
Yep.
I know lots better than Gordon, I'm sorry, if I do two diseases, I would use you as an example also. But isn't that also part of that money? So by getting rid of that training, we may not be on the spot with helping our taxpayers in the event that these diseases transmit here.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. That travel is pretty critical.
Okay,
Yep.
that would be my fear of cutting training, is if we got into that position. I know the state veterinarian would come in that, but still, that would be, you wouldn't have a man on the ground in Crook County. And I'm just talking about what I know about, so like I say, if I could think of something, Gordon, I'd come up with.
And the 16,000.
Yeah, it goes for all of them.
Is also the line item where we take workshop expenses out of. So again, like for Gordon, he just put on a full day hay workshop. 60 some odd people came. He had speakers that traveled. Those speakers usually have a mileage expense, at least if they spent the night, a motel. Gordon has partners like the Hay Growers Association. They cover some of that, not all of it, and whatnot. So expenses for that workshop also come out of this. And if he collects any revenue from that workshop, it comes back in on the revenue side. But not all workshops are break-even workshops. They usually are more expensive than the revenue that was generated. So that's also in that $16,000. There's about 4,000 in workshop expenses figured in that 16, and then there's the 12 that really sort of fits the professional development stuff. And with 6 people, that's about $2,000 a piece. It's again, it's not a lot of money. We have never said no to anybody's travel because of what Nicole just said, is when someone used to say, hey, I want to go to the American Alfalfa meeting in Reno, we would say, great, you probably need travel funds, right? And they go, yeah. And I would say, well, make sure you apply for the professional development funds on campus. And, you might get $400 or $500 out of them for that. But if you get a no, we still have the funds to send you. So we always like to spend other people's money first. But knowing that the funds were there so they could go because they needed to go. So that's the other sort of spending philosophy that at least we've had, whether it goes forward. I don't get to sign off on that stuff. I just am making the budget. So, but that's been the philosophy, is go spend somebody else's money first, and travel's a great example of, like Nicole said, there are professional development funds for people to go, but they won't pay for an entire trip. They only pay like if Scott's given a presentation. If Scott's just going to be a participant, generally those funds aren't available. But if he's going because he's given a talk or a poster or something else, then that's usually when you get the thumbs up.
Yeah, Tim, I really like where you're going with this budget as well, and I think that going through that exercise line by line is gonna definitely have a different outcome for May. And then if I look at what you've actually spent through December 31, I mean, it's relatively low, and I'm not sure of the ebb and flow, like you haven't gotten to summer yet with the fair and equipment rentals and all of those kinds of things. But
Yes, so there's about $60,000 worth of bills on campus that we haven't paid yet.
okay.
That's why I say that number is gonna quickly
It's changed.
get closer to zero as we move into these last 6 months of bills.
Yeah, but if you take that 75,000 and you add 60, that's still only 130.
Yeah.
It could look better
Yep.
than it looks right now.
Yep.
Based on that.
I agree with you.
Should.
Tim, could you, this is the first time I'm thinking closely about the building funds and sort of breathtaking that they're only $2,000 in the building fund presently, but the difference between that building fund and the contingency, where
Yeah.
we've got emergency funds versus sort of saving for the roof gets a year older every year.
Yeah, yeah.
But is this the year to put money away for extra money away for a new
Yep,
roof?
okay, well, so let's go to those last two lines. Yeah, on page 4 of the big printout. So in the good old days, we would have, the last line of the budget would be called unappropriated ending fund balance. And the unappropriated ending fund balance was a dollar amount that would cover the first 4 months of operation before property taxes would start flowing in from into the treasurer's office, and then we'd have money to pay. So that's the minimum amount that would be in that unappropriated ending fund balance. And the word unappropriated is important because it means hands off. If I have an ending fund unappropriated ending fund balance of $200,000 this year for this year's budget, and something catastrophic happens, I don't know, the 4-H building burns down, our office burns down, and we want to rebuild, I cannot touch that $200,000 until July 1. Because in this fiscal year, it's permanently set aside, I cannot touch it. The two funds that I could touch is a fund called contingency, and now a fund that shows up called reserve for future expense. And I had to have the county's budget officer explain what that one meant. So the contingency is really sort of, it's a sum of dollars that is set aside to cover things you hadn't planned on. So they're not budgeted in a line item, but they're significant enough that it would cause you to overspend that category. And budget law says you cannot overspend a category. Categories, personnel costs is a category, supplies and services is a category, capital investment is a category. So you can overspend a line within a category, you cannot overspend a category. So contingency is kind of a set aside fund that through supplemental budgeting, I can move funds from being uncategorized but available into a category, and then I can spend them. So that's contingency. The reserve for future expense is like a super duper emergency account. It really is not available either, but you have appropriated it for this year's spending. So if you needed it, you could go to it. But it is super hard according to the county's budget. It's intended to be hard to get to. Contingency's not intended to be hard to get to. It's just a process. But to get to this one, you gotta have a really, really super good reason. So it's better than unappropriated ending because it's available, but it's really not. So in this budget, I'm allocating what would be an unappropriated ending fund balance, 100% between contingency and that reserve for future expense. So in what you will see in May, if nothing else changes, we're basically spending 100% of what we got. Including carryover. So we're not gonna. We don't have no intention to spend it, but it's budgeted to be spent just in case.
So I guess my question is that you've put $27,000 into building sort of, what are we calling those? Yeah,
25,000,
sure.
not to add it to the two, yep.
Together, that are starting to build up a backup piggy bank for not the emergency things, because I think you just told us about two sources of funds in addition to building insurance for hopefully cover something of when.
Well, the fire example is probably not good because, we are covered with insurance.
But catastrophic HVAC system, something. Is this the year to put $25,000 in the nice to have? Yes, we know someday we'll need a new roof, we'll need new carpet and new paint. We don't anticipate needing any of those things next year, and there is buffer for the emergencies.
So budget officer Tim's philosophy doesn't have to be what gets approved. Is I hate deferred maintenance. And all of our public buildings, whether they be counties, whether they be schools, whether they be whatever.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I don't look too closely.
It has millions of dollars of deferred maintenance because they never set aside dollars to solve the problem when the problem occurred.
Yeah.
And then in the annual budget, the money doesn't exist to fix the problem. So the only way to fix the problem with deferred maintenance is ultimately go to the voters every 4 years for a bond to do upgrades. And we never had to do that, and I won't ever budget to have to do that. Now, again, I'm just gonna present, you're gonna approve. So,
Can I ask a question, Tim? This is probably a stupid question. The building is for the Clover building and the office?
yes, anything that is required in those two buildings, you guys are responsible to fix.
So when the partners, when Andy's AC went out, was that last summer? Yes, right at the end of last summer, that would have come out of this.
Yep.
And that was a big chunk.
Yep. Yeah, cause it was something attached to the building, so it was your responsibility. If it was a computer that died, whatever, that's not tied to the building, that's his responsibility, but heating, cooling, plumbing. Yeah, that's.
I hate the toilets are attached, I hate to tell you.
I know, I'm just saying like how.
But we do have new ones in our area, just in case. Look how
Right.
So,
and that was a big enough expense to exceed our, what do we have, $5,000 of little expense, but not so big.
well, it
that
would have violated the $3,000 limit, not the 5,000, you could have
two or 1.5.
multiple events to get to 5,000, that's the line item. But any single item to use that line has to be under $3,000.
And not more than 27,000, 25
hopefully
in
not.
in this case.
If
but
it's
then-
more than that, then you're dipping into, you're gonna go to contingency to make it happen.
Right, that's how you sort of tier
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
And it is your
And-
middle tier buffer.
And when Mike Mohan was county commissioner, CPA, he felt I needed to have that contingency number at 100,000. And I said, why? If I budgeted good enough in all the line items. So I've always kept it low, but from a CPA recommendation, it should be much, much higher.
The office space in the extension office, it's all full on the 4-H side. Or the,
So on the extension side, it is all full, and on the partner side, it is all full. There's, last year, there was a thought process, if you're familiar with the building, the break room and the little kitchenette, to reconfigure that space and create one more office and make the break room, printer room and kitchenette more usable. The kitchenette, when we built that building in 97, we went and did that god awful fixed open shelving for supplies, and it's the worst. For years, we toyed with the idea of ripping out those cabinets and putting in cabinets that really provided good storage space, but we never did. Rebecca had it in the budget to do something, but didn't do that either, so. Instead, we negotiated with COCC to rent space over here for Shauna.
Are we in a contract for that?
Pardon?
Or is there a contract?
Yeah. And we have that space for as long as we wanted. We gave it up once and we got it back.
Are there standard expected sort of like rent rates that are like Shauna's square feet worth the same amount as the square feet in that you pay for rent in our office, or that the
No, everybody gets a screaming deal. We in extension get a screaming deal in this building. And all of our partners get a screaming deal in our building. If they had to go out and rent space in the general public deal, it would cost everybody way more than what everybody's paying.
Yeah.
And it can always change, but the philosophy of having all those partners in that building was, again, service, to provide one-stop shopping to all the residents of the county. And all of the partners have the same groups of clientele in common. And at the time we put the only agency we were never able to get into the building was the water master. And we tried for years the water master once a week would come to the courthouse from Bend to deal with water rights issues. We wanted them to come here and we never were able to make that happen. So it's kind of the only, partner that we were never able to bring under the roof. And so some of them don't pay any rent. They pay utilities and IT. Some pay more rent than others pay on a square foot basis. But there's all a reason for what each one pays. And they were renewed 2 years ago when Kim was still here.
And with Shauna, the reason to move Shauna was with Risa, with the increase in 4-H that she had. It was to give Risa more space because they were both crammed in, and to put Shauna over there where there was actually a little test kitchen that.
Right, yeah, when we built this building, that space was
That was there was a logical reasoning of why we did it. We didn't really want Shauna there, but that was where.
Yeah, we intentionally designed that space Shauna's in now to be the food and nutrition extension space, because it had the prep kitchen in it that was certified. So the Shauna's predecessors, the folks before, they were preparing their snack demo stuff that they took to the schools. They were preparing it in that kitchen. So it had to be a certified kitchen. And then when we lost SNAP Ed before Shauna showed up, we gave the space up because it had nobody in it. And then when SNAP Ed came back around one more time, then we found the quarters tight and Susie was able to.
You can have here the 4-H members that were there. Now look at how many 4-H members we have. And your office was very full when I went in there last year, so I know Risa uses every square inch.
But in years back, the SWCD used to be in where Risa is. There used to be 3 people in that office. The conference room where we now have a conference room, there used to be 3 of us. And I was in that room, Jeff Papke was in that room, and Susie was in that room. There were 3 of us crammed in that room. So we've worked that building about as well as we can work that building. I think it's a professional space now. Everybody's got the space they need. It'd be nice to have Shauna back, but there's not, unless we do some remodeling, there's not that space to make that happen.
And also if she's back in that office, then she's having to take all of her stuff over to the corporate building. to
Oh,
prepare
yeah,
it
yeah.
And that kind of thing
Yeah,
as
Yeah.
well.
This was, there was a logical reason why we did it. I wasn't really for Rebecca's idea of the remodel and the other, that wasn't, I felt that was a little bit over the top for me. That was
Well,
my personal
we-
opinion.
We
But we're
added
not
to that
doing-
building in 2011.
We're not doing it.
The current soil and water district office and the watershed council office, that part of the building did not exist until 2009 or 10. And we added those offices because the partners needed the space. They were growing. And we didn't want to lose them, so we made space for them. So please stew on this. If you got any ideas, please reach out. You're gonna probably hear from me, mostly by email, as we sort of move forward in the next 45, 60 days. From a budget calendar standpoint, we have to have an approved budget in front of the county commissioners the first Wednesday of June. The commissioners' meetings are the first and third Wednesdays of the month. We used to shoot for that third Wednesday. It's more and more difficult to make sure that we have a quorum of commissioners for that third Wednesday meeting. Because it's the last official meeting of the fiscal year. They're moving it around to try to deal with some of their budget issues. It makes it harder for us, like the museum district and the extension district, who have the commissioners as the governing body that actually has to ultimately approve the budget and levy the taxes. So the only real guaranteed time that we can way ahead of time fix will be that first Wednesday of June. So from that day, we work backwards. We have to have budget meeting with you guys and the budget committee. And we have advertising periods before that meeting and then after that meeting. We also have publication requirements in the newspaper. So we need to be 15 to 21 days before the first Wednesday of June to hold a budget meeting where we can meet as a budget committee and approve a budget. So that gets us to like the week of the 12th of May. Then before that, from an advertising standpoint, I have to advertise in the paper that public meeting 5 to 10 days before the meeting occurs. So that gets me into the last part of April. So my target is to have this in a form that's not gonna change between the end of April and that meeting in the week of the 12th. For you, the budget committee, you guys to look at and approve. So we've got about 6 weeks to do the things that need to be done to get it into a form that can be published in the paper, get you guys noticed for when the meeting is that week. And then after it gets approved by the budget committee, then we have to publish it in the paper. And do public notices again for that first Wednesday that it goes before the commissioners, and they do the adoption and the levying of taxes resolutions that they have to do. So that's the timeline. Does anybody know if there's our conflicts in that week of the 12th? And I'm gonna see what that week really, it's the week of the 11th. The 11th is a Monday. Are there nights of the week that are good, bad, indifferent? Let's focus on bad nights. That's the easiest one. That's,
Thursday night is not a good night,
okay.
watershed.
Oh, yep, right.
Thursday.
Tuesday are not always good for me, depending on which Tuesday,
Okay,
because the council meets the second and fourth.
That would be the second Tuesday, then the 12th would be the second Tuesday for you, Jerry. In fact, I think I'm coming to the council on that day, so.
okay. Yeah, cause see, we're, the 3rd of June is
Yeah, it's
the county commission meeting. And so, if we did it. In theory, I think, if we're really ready, we could maybe even go to Monday, the 18th or Tuesday, the 19th. But that makes, see, we have to publish into the Central Oregonian. The Central Oregonian is the paper of record. And they now only publish one day a week, and that's Tuesdays. And you have to get it to them like the Friday before.
I think maybe even a Thursday, I thought. maybe.
Well, so,
Brianna would be able to tell you exactly, but we have to follow that.
yeah, so that make, that. To be in that and then I have to be in this 5 to 10 day window. No sooner than 5 days and no longer than 10 days, so that. It makes, when you have a newspaper only publishing one day a week, it makes it challenging to match that 3rd of June. So it's a math problem, but we'll figure it out, but, so we probably do need to keep it in the week of the 11th.
So, yeah.
And then-
Does Wednesday work?
I was gonna say, why not the 13th?
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Not Friday.
Yeah, to me, I'm hearing Monday or Wednesday
Of May, right?
of May, the 11th or the 13th.
I'm good.
That'll work for me.
I'm good.
Yeah.
And then refresh my memory, who's within the committee, who's actually
Yep.
on the
So-
budget.
Yep, so I don't know how you did it last year. The way we used to do it is, the budget committee is made up of 3 members of the advisory committee and the 3 county commissioners. So it's a group of 6. So that's how we've done it forever and ever. The advisory committee that night has picked who those 3 individuals are. Sometimes it's raise your hand, sometimes it's all volunteers step forward, or everybody else step back and who's left in the front.
And is that different than, because we don't
do it.
So last year,
people and
so right now, Janice is the chair of the advisory committee. You elected her as chair. I don't think you elected, I can't find minutes that say you elected a vice chair. So you have a chair. And if I recollect right, at least Janice was one of the 3 on the budget committee. You guys may remember.
John and I were the other.
Yeah,
two.
we were the other 2 last time.
So you can choose to keep it the same 3.
We got, the night of, you can be elected.
oh,
Yeah, so the way it works, again, that night, like tonight, we would start the meeting at 6. Janice would open the meeting as the Extension Advisory Committee. First order of business is appointing or selecting 3 members to be on the Budget Committee. Once those 3 members are selected, then the chair closes the advisory board meeting and opens the budget committee meeting. The budget committee reviews I will be giving the budget message. And that's both written and oral. And then the budget committee has the opportunity to ask questions. When the budget committee is done asking questions, the chair of the committee will ask the public. Because it's not only a meeting, it's serving two purposes that night. It's a public hearing on the budget and it's an approval of the budget. So you have to have any public, so the rest of the advisory board and anybody else that came is the public. So other members of the advisory committee at that time can ask questions and engage.
Yeah, yeah.
And when the public's done asking questions, they'll close the public session. And then there'll be a motion to do something. Adopt it as presented, to adopt it as amended, to, hope you don't punt, because then we're really in trouble with timelines, but, so that's kind of, and then you close the budget committee. And if you want, you can then reopen the advisory committee meeting for the other things that happen, like, faculty giving program updates. Talking about, future staffing needs, talking about anything you want to talk about as an advisory committee.
And we have to have 4 there for a forum.
So you have, right at the moment, so Ryan Kingsbury's term expires December 31, and Ryan chose not to renew his appointment. So right now there, and has been since October, ongoing public advertising for a vacancy on the Extension Advisory Committee. So far, nobody has signed up. I have asked faculty to think about clientele. When I look at this group, what I used to try to do is I tried to have geographical representation in the county, and I tried to have program representation in the county. And sometimes an individual could wear 2-3 hats. When I look at this group, the sort of program area that I think could be better, more represented is in that family food and nutrition arena. And not that, another farmer or another 4-H'er, parent, adult, another citizen from the community, that if they applied, they might really be a good fit. But if I sort of look at the committee and kind of go, if I'm hoping to get a broad conversations about the needs in the community, that might be one of the segments of the community that I might say, if we had someone that brought that strength, that'd be really good deal. But I don't know who that is. So, I've talked to Sean, I've talked to Risa, hey, is there anybody in your realm of programming that would have interest in sort of looking at the 30,000 foot elevation of extension in Crook County? And if any of you know anybody, do not, I can send you a online fillable PDF. You can, they can fill it out on their computer and send it, all those kind of conveniences. So I'm happy to send that to you. Carmen can send it, just, it'd be nice to have it filled, but there are 10 positions. That's an unfilled, so there's 9 of you. And so 5 is a quorum. And for the budget committee, you need 4.
That's right, that's where I was.
And sometimes in the history, it's been a struggle to get one of the 3 commissioners to come, because 3 of those 6 have to be a commissioner. You can't get 4 from the budget committee to make up a quorum. It's 3 and 3. So 1 commissioner has to come. Sometime, I think last year you had them all, maybe.
No, there was,
2.
I had to be gone.
Oh, okay.
And because Rebecca didn't tell me, I didn't even know, and then there was a real struggle because
Yeah.
Seth wasn't gonna, yeah.
And
He's
But-
zoomed in or
But
something.
the thing is what we'll do is, I'm sure Brian and I will be able to come, but then we have to make an advertisement.
well, so you're covered because I advertise.
So I'm okay?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, yep,
Okay. There's so many rules now.
yep.
And
And
I
so
just
there's,
say, I'm ethical, just leave me alone.
yes, there's a public notice of the budget committee meeting. And you're a member of the deal, so you're covered under that deal.
Taking a lot off my.
Yeah, yeah.
my-
So, but again, I mean, there was a couple of times I had to call a commissioner was home, the only one I'd get a hold of was homesick. And so we had, before Zoom,
Yeah.
we had a phone in the middle of the table to get through the budget committee, and then we let him go away so he could go back to his deathbed. At the time, he wasn't really dying, but
Yeah.
he was really, really sick, so. But we have to have one, at least one commissioner come.
Okay.
And then
I will.
we
be
need,
there, and I know Brian, well,
Yeah.
Brian's on vacation right now. And I
Right.
know he'll be there, so.
and then five of the advisory committee. Actually, the three commissioners are also members of the advisory committee, so there's actually 13 people on the advisory committee. Because the commissioners are the governing body of the service district. Okay, you probably learned way more than you wanted to learn.
Nothing wrong with
I learned a lot.
I love playing
it. I
historian.
mean, old dogs need to learn their tricks a couple times to catch you.
In 1975, the Crook County Extension Service District was the very first service district in the state. The citizens of Crook County, when our office used to be in the courthouse, there was a jar on the counter. And in 73 through 75, the citizens, when they came in, they put money in the jar, and that's how extension was funded. Because the county at the time was in one of their budget crunches and decided, rightfully so, that extension was not a core service. It wasn't a mandated service by the state, so they didn't have to, they wanted to fund it, but they couldn't fund it. And so in 74, the citizens went to Salem and got the legislature then to add service districts for extension as a funding mechanism for that's local support. And then we were the first one because we went, the ones who went to Salem, so. And at the time, our budget was $30,000. That's the number that gave me
And that was 76.
76.
Did it pass the first year?
Yep. Yeah, overwhelming. Yeah, yeah.
So is the budget meeting, are you leaning towards the 11th or the 13th or?
Is there a personal preference?
Did you say?
Monday or
was not
Wednesday?
good for you?
Thursday evening is not good. for me.
Okay, Thursday.
Yeah, so it's gotta be Monday or Wednesday.
SWCD in the morning and come here any night, you need to be Monday. That's fine.
And I don't care, fine with me each day.
Nicole, is Wednesday the best for you? You're the one that raised Wednesday as an option.
I can do either Monday or Wednesday.
Okay,
Right? Tuesday and Thursday were off the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I know.
let's shoot for Monday, the 11th, because that gives us the most chance to respond after the meeting to get the appropriate paperwork to the newspaper. So let's do Monday, the 11th.
Okay. In my calendar.
And it'll be just like this from 6 to when Tim stops talking.
I'll bring my sleeping bag.
Okay, we'll feed you. Bring an appetite.
All day.
Okay, so again, please remember, if you got any ideas, any suggestions, any more questions,
But the meeting.
Anybody?
The meeting will be at 6 o'clock.
yeah,
The only reason I say that is when I go to May 11th, I have a hold for a budget committee meeting on that day from 8 to 5, but we'll just have to work a little bit harder for your taxes, that's
Just-
all.
just be done by 5 so you can get over here and have a meal and
No biggies.
drag Brian with you.
I know that, because he likes, if he's like me, we both like eggs. You're sick.
Yes, thank you for.
This is a lot of great detail. Thank you.
Sure.
And you know what's funny with this?
I'm a good person to be like.
I call Tammy. She always says, "Hey Jerry, how are you?" She said, "It's never changed, it's just, I just call you Jerry." So I have to tell you that story when you were talking about the cell phone thing. Well, We recycle phones, I have two.
That's interesting, I didn't know.
So I just want you to know, we're not being, we're not buying phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, she always calls that when I call her. I got to call her funny to get.
I'm turning you off, Nicole.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.